As an art form, stop motion animation is almost 100 years old. And if you look at brick films within that, their evolution over time is a fraction of that. So we are still working with a medium that is really only a few decades old. The basics of stop motion animation still apply. For every second of film, there are 24 frames. So 24 pictures to make up 24 frames to make up that 1 second of film. That means it takes 1,440 frames or pictures to make up 1 minute of film. It's a lot of work and a lot of photography. And also, we didn't want to make it overly violent. We wanted to uphold those traditional Lego views of light gut, which is play well, the original idea of how they got their iconic name of Lego. So you'll see a lot of gags and things happen as the chaos unfolds, but during the shootout, no one will really get injured. This idea allows us to use slapstick gags along with silent film and spaghetti western, golden age of Hollywood gags. So it really brought a traditional feel to this film. To think about the amount of time it takes to put this all together, Outlaw Canyon is just over 8 minutes, which translates to over 10,000 individual pictures or frames. What? Once you add the story adaptation, production design, action choreography, building the sets, it all just comes together in this amazing thing. It does take time, and building the sets is kind of the most fun because it's Lego. So you get to build, you get to play, and kind of find out ways to really tell this story in the aesthetic you want while using those Lego bricks. While we did try to treat this in the idea of traditional Hollywood filmmaking, we did paint backdrops and matte paintings as cycloramas, so not just digital backdrops and using blue screens and green screens for compositing, but we also had physical backdrops, which again brings an extra texture to the film itself, a real physical realism inside of the lens. Compositing is an entirely different story when it comes to animation, although it is not a new idea to clean up scenes in post and do things digitally. We are using green screens, blue screens, sometimes even magenta screens to really get these shots we do to layer them together. And that's not a new idea in animation as a whole. You go back to traditional Disney animation using the multi-plane camera, and it's something that creates the illusion of depth even in a two-dimensional field of view. This idea of using layers within stop motion isn't new either. One of the pioneers and fathers of stop motion animation, Willis O'Brien, used this going back into the late 1920s and early 1930s, actually using glass panels as a backdrop, middle ground, foreground, and painting scene setters and things on there, and would actually create that depth and layered field of view right inside the lens as he's doing the stop motion. And that is something I know that a young Walt Disney probably noticed and even utilized to come up with the multi-plane camera in 1937.
Oh, what a nation!
We utilize a similar idea, but in the digital realm. We use digital layering to be able to composite layers together using green screen, blue screen, that sort of thing. It takes a lot of planning to make sure all these layers are appropriately captured so that when you composite them together, they'll all be the same angle. So for those wide, expansive shots, you have to make sure the horse, the carriage, and all of those pieces are filmed at just about the same angle, because you don't want a weird side angle or a front angle and then have it all come together in the end in the digital world and not look correct. So it does take a lot of planning, but it's very fulfilling once you get to that last scene and see it all come together in one shot. Earlier, I had mentioned that we had blue screen and green screen and even magenta screen things. And the reason for that is Legos are a variety of colors, so doing those in different chroma key settings, obviously some of the features on the minifigures would chroma key. So that's where we'd even get them in the computer and realize we have to use a different color backdrop to be able to composite this correctly. So a lot of double work, a lot of reshoots had to happen, but that is not unlike any stop motion animation. Some of the Lego stop motion brick techniques we used to help bring this to life was like using these small single button Legos to help create some of the walking across some of the pegboards, so that way you could do diagonal movements, not just stay restricted to the gridded forward and back, left to right of the Lego grid. Another thing we use a lot is using poster tack to actually secure some of the items and scenery down, so that way if you bump it while you're animating, it won't really move or move as much. And it's just a really nice way to keep things kind of tight within your scene. And that way you can also move those sceneries when you want to block out different angles. It really makes it easier when it comes to scene setups to be able to move those items, but then secure them so you know that they won't move while you're actually doing your stop motion.
Whoa.
It also really helps that Lego sets, you can move the entire set and get different angles and vantage points whenever you want to. It's a really nice way that you can actually control what your audience is seeing as well as what is moving in your set. One of the benefits of angle blocking for stop motion like this is to be able to hide support structures. So when you see minifigures flying, jumping, falling, there's structures involved to help that happen because they have to stay frozen in space as you're capturing that frame. So to be able to secure them suspended in the air, that's where a little bit of the magic techniques, being a magician, bringing some of those illusions to life, where it's minimally like a levitation effect where you have to actually suspend these figures so you can photograph them, but then also be able to move them while they're suspended, but also keep the structure hidden. It's all very complicated, but when it all comes to life at the end, it really creates a visual that is magical, interesting, and looks real. Even in non-traditional means, not using minifigures, we had to use support structures to support the carriage as we went from a side angle to a top angle. And when you're doing that in a compositive studio setting with a backdrop that you can chroma key, that essentially will render it to look like a jib or crane shot. So you're going from the side to a top down in one consistent motion, and then digitally, you just have to have the background follow suit. One thing we knew we had to do for our brick films was to animate the mouth digitally in post, because we knew that would bring the characters to life. Utilizing a simple overlay and keyframing the animation, as well as scaling the mouth to various sizes and positions, it was a very easy and seamless way to create an animated mouth for these characters. All of this comes together to make a really entertaining production, and finding those creative solutions to tell the stories is what makes it fun. It makes it fulfilling. Seeing the hours of work come together as the pictures form into film and truly spring to life, it's very special. Making a stop motion film like this takes a lot of patience, a lot of care, attention to detail, and persistence, but it can be very rewarding seeing it all come together. So get out there, make your own brick films, and be sure to watch Outlaw Canyon if you haven't seen it. It's right here on the TMR Studios YouTube channel. You can see the link above, below, wherever. I hope this look into TMR Studios brick film Outlaw Canyon taught you a little something about stop motion animation as well as brick films. Maybe it'll even help you make your own brick films going forward. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more brick films, stop motion tips, and films from TMR Studios, and we'll see you in pictures.